is The Devil's Pulpit. The author is the Reverend Robert Taylor. The link to the free PDF is in the description area of this video, along with links to my Ancient Ibaryath books that I have written and published that deals with radicals. All right, all of this etymology stuff, grammar rules, everything. Also, links to my classes are in the description area of this video. Okay, y'all? So I have streaming and live, which is Zoom. Okay? And for those of you who buy my books, I request that you buy them on zionlawschool.org. The reason is because it's less expensive. And plus, Amazon, over the past couple of years, since someone has apparently trashed me to Amazon, it's hard to find me on Amazon. In fact, they delisted my books. Actually, they delisted my books. I made the mistake of calling. I called their customer service. And I guess whoever I spoke to didn't like that someone who sounds like me writes books like I write on Ancient Ibaryath. Y'all know how that goes. And they delisted me, and it took me forever to get my books back listed for sale on Amazon. And they take I think they charge 44%. I don't remember. And then they have the nerve, they can add more fees even on top of that. So those of you who want to support, please buy them on zionlawschool.org. Don't buy them on the online platforms, even though they're available, as far as I know, on all of the online platforms. All right. And also, thanks for everyone who has supported my project to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English, to include, just like I do with all of my Ancient Ibaryath books, like I did with the Ten Commandments and with Deuteronomy chapter 28, to show all of the etymological meaning of the words from at least two sources. Okay, I use the KJV because that's what most people tend to believe in. And Brown Driver Briggs. All right. And of course, there's one more. So typically you'll have translations out of at least 3 versions, and the etymological meanings out of 2. Okay, 3 versions of the Bible and 2 etymological dictionaries or lexicons. All right, y'all. And in my books, Phoenician Hebrew 101, that covers the 10 Commandments, the etymology of it, and the I Can Read series, Deuteronomy 28. I take you into how the words are formed, word morphology, the grammar rules, step 1, step 2, step 3, etc. So on and so forth. So everyone who supported my work in whatever way you have supported it, thank you very much. Let's get into our presentation today. We are on page 144. Page 104. All right, page 104. Give me 1 second, y'all. All right. I just ate. I just finished lunch. Okay, so we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday. And that whole discussion had to do with the fact that Paul's conversion didn't happen literally. It's astrological, okay? It is astrological. And I'm going to post an image of the pediment, the tympanum, engraved, or however they made it. Maybe they poured it. I have no idea, right? Can't believe anything they say anyway. But I'm going to show you an image of that. Okay? I'm going to show you an image of that. And in that image, you'll see that Paul fell off of a horse. But you should recall that in the gospel story, there's no horse ever talked about. But the author makes the point that in all art, in all representations, painting, sculpture, etc., statues, there is a horse. Of course, he's talking about before 1831, y'all. Okay, because he gave this sermon in 1831. Okay? So up until that time, there was always a horse in the picture. But you would expect as people start to become wise to what they're doing, they wouldn't show the horse, right? Okay. So let's pick up on page 144, the first paragraph. And this conversion, you will observe, takes place expressly at midday, that is, when the sun of Gemini is exactly at the meridian, 12 o'clock of the 9th of June, in the calendar of Julius Caesar. So we already read that. We're on page 105. Yeah, I remember that. Last video at the end, we went through Miriam and her song. Right? Miriam and her song. So, thus, throwing us up a philosophical and rational meaning of that song of Miriam. Now, I read that. I'm on page 104. It's at the very bottom of the paragraph. In celebration of the self-same conversion of Saul into Paul. Y'all got that? Saul is converted into Paul. So y'all will remember that Saul is the son of November, which is Sagittarius, the hybrid, half man, half horse, right? And Paul is actually Pol, the condensed form of Pollux, which is Castor and Pollux, which is the zodiac sign Gemini, all right? So Paul, P-A-U-L, is actually Pol, P-O-L, or Pollux. Pollux and Castor, those two stars, okay? Now, let's continue. So the Song of Miriam is actually a celebration of the self-same conversion of Saul, the sun in Gemini in November, not Gemini, but the sun in November, which is Sagittarius, and Paul, which is the sun, S-U-N, sun, in Gemini. When Miriam sang, quote unquote, sing ye to the Lord in this case would be who, y'all? The S-U-N, sun. Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider, that's Sagittarius, that's Saul, he have thrown into the sea. So in yesterday's presentation, I read what it means by the horse and its rider being thrown into the sea. So y'all go review that, okay? That's yesterday's presentation. I think this is number 42. This video is number 42. So yesterday's presentation would be 41. Whatever this video is, I don't remember. Whatever it is, it's the one before this one, okay? If I can easily find it. Okay, it's on page 9. Last paragraph, page 9. So y'all go back and read that or watch the video. I take you through it, I explain it to you. Okay, now let's continue. And here, sirs, is Miriam. So Miriam is the Spica Virginis. The Spica Virginis rising out of the Red Sea. So Miriam and the house of Israel, right, y'all? Remember Moses parted the Red Sea and they walked through it? So they walked, what did they do? They were on the bank and then they walked into it. So of course, they're walking downward, then they reach a flat land and now they need to walk up. Okay, so now they need to walk up. Y'all got it? So they're going down, which is south. They get on the flat land. It's flat. And now they need to ascend upward. Sounds like the sun, doesn't it? The sun is falling down from the summer solstice, June 21, 24. And then the sun starts to fall down. And it continues to fall down all the way until it reaches its lowest point on December 21, 22. And then it's flat, right? Its motion is flat. And then at the end of December 24th, beginning of December 25th, now the sun begins to ascend northward. It begins to rise. All right? So now let's continue. And here, sirs, is Miriam. That's the Spica Virginis, rising out of the Red Sea, singing to Pol. Pol as in Pollux, Pol as in the SU in sun and Gemini in May. Who is at the moment at the meridian? While Saul, S-A-U-L, the horse and its rider, so Saul is the horse and his rider. Saul is on a horse, right? Saul is Sagittarius. Is at that moment at the bottom of the sea. Y'all got that? Just as Pharaoh. Where was Pharaoh? Pharaoh was at the bottom of the sea, still chasing after the house of Israel. Everybody see it? Everybody see it? So Pharaoh in this case would be what? Of course, representing the devil, darkness, evil. Not the devil who y'all think. Not the devil who you've been indoctrinated to believe is out to get you. Who's out to destroy you and, kill you and all. Not that devil. This is darkness. This is evil. This is unnatural things. Things that go against natural law. It's unnatural, right? So if it's unnatural, it's obviously evil. Why? Because it will cause harm. It will hurt somebody, injure somebody, or terminate someone. So you take the D off of darkness and put it on evil. In front of evil, you get devil. Okay, y'all? All right. So let's continue. So the devil is at the bottom of the sea. Pharaoh is at the bottom of the sea. And that while Pharaoh is at the bottom of the sea and the waters are closing in, falling down on Pharaoh, and they drown, right? And then the house of Israel and Miriam, they're walking out. They're rising, ascending out of the Red Sea onto the land, the plateau. Right? So the plateau in this case, if you follow the metaphor, that would be the summer solstice, the highest point in the north. So they reach the highest point in the north, and then what? The sun will go flat until June 24th. Not moving up, not moving down. All right, y'all? But still casting a shadow on the sundial. Okay? Anyway, next paragraph. And that the figure on the center of the western pediment of Paul's Cathedral, that's St. Paul's Cathedral. I'm going to upload the image sometime today. I've already downloaded. And that the figure on the center of the western pediment, I don't know if I have the image on the western pediment, but I'm going to upload what I have. Of Paul's, P-O-L-S, or St. Paul's Cathedral is not a representation of the Apostle Paul, but is a representation of the god Pollux. Okay, so that image on St. Paul's Cathedral, that's not the Apostle Paul, that's the god Pollux, P-O-L-L-U-X, as in Castor and Pollux, those two stars. That is not of a Christian saint, but of a pagan deity. Right there on St. Paul's Church. Now you got to remember, deity means devil. Deity means devil. So St. Paul's Church and all of the other churches that have these deities, well, those are devils. Those are devils. There you are. All right? Those are devils. Now, what kind of devils? Well, if you look at it astronomically, there's no living devil. There never was a living devil. There's no devil out to get you. Simply the devil in the winter months is just that. The darkness, the cold. The dying off of vegetation. Right? The hard life. It's the sun as it goes past September 9 into November. Sagittarius is the adverse sign, meaning that when it's November, we're in Sagittarius. You see Sagittarius? Oh, that's the sign that winter's coming. In December, y'all got it? That's what the devil is. It's the hardships of winter. The orientation is the northern hemisphere, North America, okay? All right, so let's continue. So this figure, this statue, this idol is not the Apostle Paul. It's the god Pollux. That is, this god Pollux, this image that you've been lied to and told is the Apostle Paul, is not a Christian saint at all, but a pagan deity. All right? Will strike the mind in a moment's remembrance that no person who had respected what Christians call divine revelation would have set up, quote unquote, any graven image or the likeness of anything that is in heaven above or in earth beneath or in the waters under the earth or in the waters under the earth. All right, isn't that one of our commandments, right? Isn't that you'll find similar statement, sentiment in Exodus chapter 20, right? Verse 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, y'all? All right. Next paragraph. Nor could even a mistaken pity. Let me go back. Let me go back. If it's in fact holy men, God-fearing men, men who has God's favor and so-called Holy Spirit, why would they build this church and put an idol in there? Lie to you tell you that it's the Apostle Paul, and that it's a innocent depiction of what happened with Paul's conversion, knowing full well that it's not the Apostle Paul, but it's the god Pollux. It's a star, y'all. Castor and Pollux are two stars. Astrologically, they're Gemini. Why would they lie to you about this if they got God's Holy Spirit? Now, some of you Hebrew Israelites and Christians are saying, well, the Catholics are evil. Well, guess what? Guess what? So are the Protestants. Just because you're not a Catholic doesn't mean you're not following the same doctrines, that you don't have the same origin, because in fact you do have the same origin. The Protestants only protested some things they didn't like about the Catholic Church, and they changed some of their doctrines, but the essence of it is all the same. It's all the same. It's still a remix of natural phenomena. It is a remix of natural phenomena, specifically the Zodiac, astronomy, astrology, remixed into biographical, historical stories. It's still coming out of the same template, which is the Zodiac. All right? They're using the same original text, allegedly. Okay? Each religion just edits their own stuff. They edit their own stuff, y'all. And then they teach it as a doctrine. All right? And then they precept this and precept that, having edited whatever they want to edit it, whatever they want to edit to support their position. And quite often their position is only so that they'll be different from the next religion. Okay, so one restaurant offers French fries with salt. Other restaurant offers French fries with sea salt. Another one offers French fries with powdered cheddar cheese. It's still French fries, no matter how they tweak it. Pollux, Darrell-El writes, the church is Circe. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they chose that name for themselves. Many of you who don't know who Circe is, you'll be shocked to find out who this deity Circe is. Darrell-El writes, grape and fruit punch is still Kool-Aid. That's right. Hey, Darrell-El, you know what you made me think of when you said that? Y'all know that joke that Dave Chappelle does about the black children? they go into the colonist house, I guess, and the colonist, the parent says, you guys want some orange juice or something like that? And was it grape juice? And they said, Dave Chappelle said, juice? What is juice? We want some drink. That was some funny stuff. But I don't know anything about that because I guess that was before my time. We had Sunny Delight. I remember that. But we were not drinking juice where I was from. We were not drinking drink. We were drinking juice at that time. But even the juice is full of sugar now. I mean, the juice, if it's processed, the juice is dangerous. Because it's not juice, it's just straight sugar, y'all. All right. If it's processed. You know what? I shouldn't have said that because YouTube tagged one of my videos before for talking about problems like this. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. So check this out, scholars. YouTube sent me a notification, and they told me that, in the notification, it says that once I get 1,000 subscribers, then the restriction on my account will be lifted. So if y'all could help me out, ask anybody that you know to subscribe. I just need 40. I just need 40 more. Ask anybody that you know to subscribe. Because once I get to 1,000, when those restrictions are removed, a lot more people will get this content, and we'll get closer and closer and closer to activating the 100 monkey phenomena. 99 monkey, 100 monkey phenomena. Okay, y'all? We just need 40. We just need 40. Once we hit that climactic number, whatever it might be, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard some, I can't remember who it was. He said it's 3%. 3% of a population. Once you hit that climactic number, activation of the principle, or that 99th or 100 monkey principle, then that behavior will automatically be adopted by the entire population or by the entire bloodline of Moors. What behavior? Following the Most High, following his instructions, which means following natural law and abandoning religion. Y'all see that? And abandoning religion. Let me state that differently. We'll be back in the so-called blessings, Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. The curses, the punishments will be over with. And it has nothing to do with you keeping feast days. It has nothing to do with what you wear. Absolutely nothing. It has everything to do with how you think and how you behave, whether or not you're living rhythmically or harmonically with nature. That's what the Most High's laws are. Natural law. Okay? Charles Miller, Islam and Shalawama. In fact, all scholars, Islam and Shalawama to everyone. Anyway, let's get back to it, y'all. So if y'all could help me out, I would greatly appreciate it. It's for our bloodline. We get our inheritance back. Okay? All of these punishments and sufferings will be lifted. Now, this is nature. I'm not talking religious doctrine. It just stands to reason when you start to live in harmony with nature, things will go well for you, right? You just can't argue that. But when you go against nature, things go bad for you. It's just something that you cannot argue, or at least reasonably. Okay? Now let's continue. And that the figure on the center of the western pediment of St. Paul's Cathedral is not a representation of the Apostle Paul, but is a representation of the god Pollux, that is, not of a Christian saint, but of a pagan deity, will strike the mind in a moment's remembrance that no person who had respected what Christians call divine revelation. See, you know what the prophecy means. God told me. God said. God sent me. All of that. So no such real authentic person would have set up, quote unquote, any graven image or the likeness or anything that is in heaven above that is in heaven above, the stars, the planets, or in the earth beneath, or in the waters underneath the earth. That is just not something that somebody would do. Why? Because the next step is for you to, or for that person to convince you that you need to worship it, serve it. That's why. That's why. All right? Let's continue. Nor could even a mistaken piety, a mistaken holier than thou, be possible, so much mistaken as to have intended to honor Christ and Christianity when it called the noblest temple it could raise by the name of the servant rather than the master. And that's a good point. Set up the apostle above the Savior. That's right. Set up the apostle over the Christ. And honor and serve the creature, who is Paul, more than the creator, who is supposed to be JC, the Christ figure, and the Tetragrammaton. Y'all see that? So this is absurd, right? All right. So I don't really think I need to explain anything here. All right? Nobody would, no sincere person would do what they did. No God-fearing person would do what they did. Right? It's not by mistake. That's the author's point. This is intentional, y'all. That's the author's point. It is intentional. But it must strike the eye that the figure itself, the figure again is Paul falling off of the horse in all of the art, which is Sagittarius. That the figure itself is not the figure of St. Paul and could not have been intended to represent such a figure as St. Paul represents himself to have been. Look at this, y'all. Where he says, now this is Paul speaking, quote unquote. Not Paul, but this is in the gospel, concerning Paul's appearance. Listen to this. Where he says, quote unquote, his bodily presence was weak. Now when you look at the image, the statue, when you look at that figure, he's clearly not weak, not a weak looking man. And his speech, this is talking about Paul. So his bodily presence, that is Paul's bodily presence, was weak, and Paul's speech contemptible, end quote. Though God, Gad, Gud, Gid, Ged, Zeus, Apollo, Odin, Woden, etc. Let's throw in the magistrate, the master, the magician, the magi, Sirius, the canine dog stars. We may as well even throw Toto in there from the Wizard of Oz. Because why? God is dog spelled backward. We may as well throw good in there, because good, when you strike out, delete one of the O's, you get God. Though Zeus forbid that we should think his speech was more contemptible than his writings. Y'all got that? So in other words, if Paul wrote all of these lies, but his speech was even worse than what he wrote, he was lying like a dog out of his mouth. That's what the author is saying. And he had an inexpressible infirmity in the flesh. Right, he had a thorn in the flesh, remember? Which he says was, quote, a messenger of Satan to buffet him, end quote. So there he is, lying to you that Satan, that there's a real person called Satan who's out to get you. See, he's lying. As he is described in the Philopatris of Lucian, on the ground of which I admit his real historical existence, as well as in that description of his person, acknowledged to be genuine by Saint Jerome and Saint Cyprian, in which he is portrayed as a, this is Paul. Paul is portrayed by Saint Jerome and Saint Cyprian as a little pot-bellied, brandy-legged, passionate old man, with a squeaking voice and a hooked nose, squinting eyes, a bald head, and full of the king's evil, y'all, and the grace of God. What the heck is that supposed to mean? You're full of the king's evil, yet you got the grace of God? So look at this. Now, when y'all Google search St. Paul's Church in London, compare this description from St. Jerome and the other saint to the man you see in that figure, in that sculpture, in that art on St. Paul's Church in London. And you will see that it's not the same person. Okay, y'all? You will see that it is not the same person. It is not the Apostle Paul, but it's the god Pollux, or the god Paul. Okay, y'all? Hold on a second. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. Let me see. Am I back? Okay. So it is not Paul. That's the point. It is not Paul. It is not Paul on that church. Okay, page 106. Whereas the figure on the pediment to whose honor the edifice is built, the church in whose honor the church is built, presents you at once with all the care. See, the church is built in honor to Paul, allegedly, but not to Jesus, not to the Creator. So you have the servant, the created, being worshipped instead of the Creator, right? And that's a problem according to what? Scripture. The created is not supposed to worship the created, okay, according to the Scripture. Whereas the figure on the pediment to whose honor the edifice is built presents you at once with all the characteristics of Pol, P-O-L, Pol, the god Pol, the immortal brother of Castor, see, Castor and Pollux, as presiding over the administration of justice. Now that's the key. Paul was said to be a lawyer, right, y'all? Isn't Paul supposed to be a brilliant lawyer of his day? Isn't it very interesting that Pollux, presides over the administration of justice, and Pollux is in fact a god? Do y'all see it? Okay, so Pol, the immortal brother of Castor, okay, as presiding over the administration of justice, so he has to know law. And in fact, he has to be an expert, a master of law, right? Wearing the judge's robe. What color is the judge's robe, y'all? It's black, right? We read earlier in the book that the judge's robe comes from where? Where did that dress come from? Where did that tradition comes from, y'all? Do y'all remember? Well, I hope you remember, because it comes from the tradition or the religious veneration of the god Zoroaster. They worship the black prince. Right? What page is that on? They worship the black prince. What page is that on? Well, y'all can find it. Okay? In fact, they wear black. The reason that they're wearing black robes is because their god wore black. So they're imitating their god. And who's their god? Zoroaster. All right? I'm trying to find the page. This is why the magistrates, the judges, and those who pretend to hold or occupy those offices according to law, those who hold it statutorily, they wear black robes, all right, in honor of Zoroaster, in worshipful honor of Zoroaster, okay? They are the magi, the magicians. Y'all remember that? Y'all can find it. Anyway, let's keep moving. It's in the beginning of the book. Okay, now let's continue. So this is not looking good, right? It's not looking good for you Christians. But it's looking good for those of us who want to return to the Most High. Because this is very convincing evidence that the Gospels are allegorical or fairy tales. Allegorical stories or fairy tales. So for those of you who want to return to the Most High, those of you who want to get the blessings, those of you who want your inheritance back, who want your estate back, well, this is very good information for you. Okay, this will take the fear out. It takes the fear away. Okay, it helps you to see what's really happening. That the Gospels are nothing more than a remix of natural phenomena. Astronomy, astrology. Anyway, let's keep going. All right. So Paul wearing the judge's robe and holding in his hand the sword of justice, with which he avenged his brother Castor's death, and with which he stands before you in a presence the most contrary to that of a brandy-legged apostle that could possibly be imagined. Y'all got that? So the image does not match the Apostle Paul's, the description of the Apostle Paul. A little old man with a fat stomach, pot belly, right? Who knows why he had a pot belly? Maybe he eats too much. Maybe he drinks too much. Maybe he had hepatitis. I don't know. Okay? Brandy leg, weak legs. Okay? But that figure in the statue is holding a sword. He's at war, avenging his brother who was killed. Okay, now let's read this quote. Hyperion's curls the front of Jove himself. Jove is the tetragrammaton. Jove is the tetragrammaton. And I, like Mars, to conquer and command, a station like the herald Mercury, new lighted on a heaven-kissing hill. The cathedral, dedicated to the honor of the Escheat sun and the star of Pollux. So the sun is in the star of Pollux, stands directly at the zenith. The zenith is the summer solstice, right? June 21. June 21, June 22. That's the summer solstice. But you know what, y'all? I'm thinking if the summer solstice is going to be on June 24, at the end of June 25, the very beginning of June 26. And here's why. Because every day there's a 1 degree shadow cast on the sundial, right? Except for the winter solstice, December 21, 22. At the end of December 24, the very beginning, 12 midnight of December 25th, finally there's a 1 degree shadow cast on the sundial. So between June 21, 22 to June 24, there should not be a shadow cast on the sundial, but there is. Which leads me to believe, maybe I'm wrong, I had to search it, but leads me to believe that the summer solstice is actually June 24, end of June 24, beginning of June 25. Why? Because there's a shadow being cast. Okay, y'all got it? But, you know, I need to check it. I need to check the ancient dates of the summer solstice. Okay? He might have written it in the book and I don't remember at present, but it'll come to me, okay? As a matter of fact, he did write it in the book because I remember the autumn equinox, according to this book, I think was September 29. But in modern times, today they say it's around September 21 to 24. But anyway, I'll deal with that later. Let's go back to it. The cathedral dedicated to the honor of the sun, the S-U-N sun, and the star of Pollux stands directly in the zenith. Wow, so the cathedral stands directly in the zenith. When the star of Pollux is at the meridian, the constellation Aries, which is the temple, right? The constellation Aries is the temple, will be observed rising in the east. Okay? All right. So, when Pollux is at the meridian, Aries is in the east rising. Okay? Aries is in the east rising. The great star Spica Virginis in the hand of Themis, the goddess of justice, holding the scales of September, or Ceres, the goddess of corn, or Miriam, or the Virgin Mary, for they are but different names, for one and the self-same constellation is setting in the west. So that has to be Virgo, right? So Virgo is setting in the west. That means setting means going down, right? Virgo is setting, going toward or below the horizon. Aries is rising. And then we will see Pollux at the meridian. Okay? And I believe this is on the summer solstice. The reason why I'm saying the summer solstice is because it has the zenith here. Okay? So here, again, this is one of those instances where we need to have an image of this. Right? We need to be able to see this. So if anybody, Charles Miller writes, thank you. Charles Miller, it's my pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be able to do this, and I appreciate you saying thank you. Okay, y'all? So if y'all want the images, let me know. My PayPal is in the description area of the video. Y'all make a donation and I'll find an artist here. They have art shops everywhere here. I'll find an art shop here and have someone make this, okay? I'll have it created. So we'll have all of these, actually. And there's quite a bit of these that we need to make. But it would be so much easier if we had pictures, right? Too bad that the author didn't provide pictures in the book. Anyway, we just do the best that we can. All right? I lost my page. Oh, so the great star Spica Virginis is in the hand of Virgo. Okay? Now remember, look at this, y'all. The great star Spica Virginis is in the hand of Themis, the goddess of justice. See, goddess, that's a woman. Let me not say woman, that's feminine. The goddess of justice, holding the scales of September. We call that now Libra, right, y'all? Libra is neither male nor female. Or Ceres, the goddess of corn. Well, we know that the only zodiac holding corn is Virgo. She has a corn in one hand and the Spica Virginis in the other. So the goddess of corn is Virgo, so that means Miriam is Virgo. The Virgin Mary is also Virgo. So they're the same constellation, which is Virgo. So this is one of the reasons why I mentioned to you, scholars, that Virgo and Libra used to be one constellation. So we need to take it back to what it was when our ancient ancestors were in power, before things changed. Y'all heard? Do y'all agree? We're supposed to follow the principles, which would include the heritage, right? Which would include the rules of commerce. It would include our entire knowledge base. Y'all see that? Y'all agree or disagree? So that means we need to take the zodiac back to what it used to be when our ancestors had made it, okay? Unless, of course, we can establish that they lied and said that something is new when it is in fact ancient. So we have to be aware of them lying, claiming that they made discoveries, okay, when in fact the truth may have been that they had known, but their ancestors hid it. And then someone in recent times, for whatever reason, they let it out and they pretend like they discovered it. So we need to be aware of that too, okay? Take that into consideration. All the possibilities, okay? All the possibilities, because we're dealing with people who make a living, whose sole means of existing is lying, cheating, and stealing, so that they can have control and power, right? Genesis chapter 1. Anyway, let's continue. And hence the twins, Castor and Pollux, two names for one and the self-same constellation, being at that moment at the zenith. Okay, so Castor and Pollux are at the zenith, where worship, as in a most peculiar sense, presiding over the adjudication of equity and in all courts of law and justice. Let me tell you why that's interesting. Because equity, you only get equity at the two equinoctial points, 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of night for everybody. That's at March 21, 24, September 29th, according to this author. Modern time, September 24th, thereabout. So those are the equinoctial points. All right? But the solstices are not even. There's not 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night at the solstices. There's a maximum number of daylight hour at the summer solstice and the maximum number of nighttime hours at the winter solstice. So this is what's strange. All right? So when Polax is at the summer solstice, Polax is directly above the sun. Now remember, the sun is at its most highest point in the northern part of space. That's called the zenith. So Polax is right above the summer solstice. Y'all got that? So why then is this constellation, as the author brings to our attention, or why is it that Polax is said to be the administrator or have administration over justice, when in fact he's physically over the summer solstice? Y'all see it? What can be the only answer? Well, when the sun is at the summer solstice, that's when the light is at a 90-degree, the sun is at a 90-degree angle to the Earth's equator. Y'all got that? So now there's more than 12 hours of daylight. There's more. See, the scales of justice are tilted toward righteousness. The arc of justice is bent toward righteousness. Y'all see what I'm saying? So now instead of having 12 hours of daylight, what's the maximum number of daylight hours in the summer, y'all? Maybe 16, 17? I don't know. So now you can see everything. You can see everything. Nothing is going to escape your awareness. So if nothing can escape your awareness, and you see everything, and you are fair and you are just, well, there you have it. That's why Polax is said to be the administration or the administrator over justice. That's why Jesus, the Christ, the sun at the summer solstice is said to be the Christ. That's why the Christ is justice. That's why the Christ is justice, y'all. You can see everything. Okay? Nothing is hidden from you. Nothing can escape from your notice. This is why Christ, or Jesus rather, is a password for justice. Y'all got it? Anyway, let's continue. Let me check the time here. All right, so we are in business. We in business still. Okay. Okay, now it's interesting too that the author puts here worshipped. And indeed, they are worshiping, right, the constellations. The Catholics, the Christians are worshiping the constellations, whether you know it or not, you Catholics, or Christians rather, all of y'all, regardless of what denomination you are in, right? Think about it. You are a denomination. For example, let's say you deal with Federal Reserve notes. Okay? You got 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s, and 100. All of those are still what? They're still Federal Reserve notes, although different denominations. You got the Methodists, the Baptists, the Lutherans, and everybody else in between, the Mormons, the JWs. You're still Christian. All right? That means you're still worshiping these demons, these devils rather, these deities, even if you don't know it. Okay? All right, so the two twins, Castor and Polax, again at the zenith, Castor and Pollux are at the zenith. Aries is rising in the east. Aries is rising in the east. And Virgo is going down on the west. Okay, let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, Virgo is setting in the west. Y'all got that? Hold on. Aries is rising in the east. Castor and Pollux are above the summer solstice, which is the zenith position. So we have Aries, Castor, and Pollux, the two, right? Constellation, right above the summer solstice. And then we have Virgo setting in the west. All right, y'all? Okay, easy enough, right? And at this time, y'all, Virgo and Libra were one, so Virgo is carrying the scales of justice. All right. Now, let's continue. In the calendar of Julius Caesar, the SUN sun enters the sign of the twins. So in the calendar of Julius Caesar, the SUN sun enters Gemini on the 19th of May, which would bring the sun, the SUN sun, in the star of Pollux on the 16th of June. All right? So the sun arrives into the star of Pollux on the 16th of June. Okay? Now, the Hebrew name of the month of June is Thomas. Let me repeat that. Thomas is the Hebrew name of the month of June, of whom we are 3 times told in the Gospel of St. John. So, in the Gospel of John, 3 times we are told that he was called, or Thomas was called, Didymus. Didymus. 3 times in the Gospel of John, it is written that the Apostle Thomas is called Didymus. In the Gospel allegory, in the Gospel fairy tale, in calling for evidence of the resurrection of Christ and insisting on having proof and not mere hearsay testimony. That is what the Apostle Thomas did, and he was vilified for it, and he continues to be vilified for demanding evidence, for demanding to see evidence for the claim. Christianity, the preachers, the pastors, all of them have vilified Thomas because he did not what? He didn't trust them. He didn't say, okay, you said it, so I'm going to believe you. I'm going to have faith. I got faith. No, Thomas didn't say that. Thomas was the only one who used his intelligent mind to say, well, wait a minute. You said you were resurrected from the dead? Right? You were dead? And now you're telling me you're back alive? Well, I never saw that before in my life. So I know that this person who was hung up on that cross should have some injuries, right? Because they nailed him to the stake. Maybe Thomas saw it. Maybe Thomas saw it. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was too far away to see who it actually was hanging up on that stake according to the story. Why? Think about this, y'all. Why? Because we know, according to the story and grammatically, that Jesus, the so-called Christ, made his escape. He ran away. And it was most likely Simon the Cyrenian, a Moor, That Jesus let him, most likely it was him who they hung up on that cross. That's why, according to the story, that unfortunate being hanging up there on that cross, if it was a cross or a stake, or if it was a rope, whatever your doctrine is, that's why he didn't want to go through with it. His faith, his willingness to die, his courage was not the same as the Jesus Christ before he was hung up on the stake, who was fearless according to the story, who was always ready to expire, give his life up on behalf of the deity he served. Y'all got it? Maybe Thomas knew that Jesus made his escape and somebody else hung up there on that cross. Right? And so when he saw Jesus, he said, wait a minute. He's thinking, wait a minute, you ran away. And I know you ran away because I seen you. Or maybe he said, someone told me that you ran away. Now you come to us telling us that you were dead and you've been resurrected, brought back to life? No, no, no. Show me the evidence. And then I can accept it. Y'all hear me? Now, this all allegedly happened some 2,000 or more years ago. Let's just say some 2,000 years ago. And still, these Christian leaders are speaking badly about Thomas for demanding to see evidence, for demanding to see proof. And it's the same way they will do you today when you use your intelligent mind and you start to reason and demand evidence, of all of these events in the Bible. When you examine the etymology, searching for evidence, when you examine art and architecture, when you examine the historical record, when you begin to compare astronomy, astrology to these stories, to investigate yourself, to find out if the evidence is beyond a reasonable doubt that these gospel stories are a remix of astronomy, astrology. See, they will vilify you. They will ostracize you, kick you out, send the boys, the policy enforcers on you, drag you into their statutory courts, lock you up, make an attempt to lock you up, take everything you got. Why? Because you're nothing more than property. You're a slave. You're a bondman and a bondwoman, a stateless person, a 14th Amendment citizen. You're nothing but goyim. And Genesis chapter 1 applies to you. They have supremacy over you, and they have dominion over you. So you can't own anything. And whatever you have a privilege of using, because you only have certificates of title, they can take it back whenever they want to. Why? Because you're in violation of natural law. You are not following the Most High's commandments. You are out of harmony with nature. And you are in the punishments, you are in the curses. I'm talking about Moors. Those of us who are sprung from the soil. I'm not talking about race. There's no such thing as race. I'm talking about those of us who are thought made manifest from the soil, the rightful heirs, the people, the competent Moors, All right? Otherwise, you're finished out here. So this is what they do, and this is what they did to Thomas. All right? They vilified him for questioning whether Christ died on behalf of the sins of many and is therefore, according to the story, the Savior of the world. All right? They vilified him. Now let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. And insisting on having proof and not mere hearsay testimony. And I'm here to tell you, good Christians and you good Hebrew Israelites, also you Muslims, all you have is mere hearsay testimony. That's all you have. You were not there. You don't understand etymology. You don't understand philology. You know nothing about science, astronomy, astrology in this context. Y'all heard? So you just heard a good story and it sounds true. Sounds good. Sounds comforting because that's what you always, and maybe worse yet, that's all you've ever known. Okay? Exemplifies the physical analogy which represents the twins of May and June. So now we have the twins of May and June as presiding over the administration of justice. Y'all got that? So Gemini and then Castor and Pollux on the summer solstice, June. Okay, well, let me get that right. Let me get that right. What was the date for June? Did he give us a date? Let's see, let me go back. In the calendar of Julius Caesar, the sun enters the sign of the twins. Okay, so the sun enters Gemini on the 19th of May, which would bring him as the sun, in the star of Pollux. That's at the zenith, so that's the summer solstice. So this is the Julius Caesar calendar. So the summer solstice on the Julius Caesar calendar is on June 16th. Okay, y'all? Y'all got that? Hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Y'all remember, ask everybody you know. Make an effort. Please, whoever is watching this presentation, make an effort. Ask people to subscribe. Let's get the subscribers to 1,000 so these restrictions can be removed and this information can get out to a broader audience. There's nothing I can do about it. The only thing I can do is to continue to present these lessons and ask you guys to do it. Now, I'm asking people to subscribe the same way I'm asking you all now. Okay, but I'm just one person. So that can be multiplied if y'all really make an effort to do it. And I'm asking you to make an effort, okay? So please do that for me. Let's get this information out. Let's get this to reach that climactic 99 or 100 monkey. Okay? Phenomenon. It's in all of our best interest. We're all winners when that happens, okay? All right, so let's continue. So again, y'all, in review, so May and June. So the twins, Castor and Pollux, preside over the administration of justice in May and June. Okay? Cicero makes a noble appeal to their divinity and their images. That's Cicero makes a noble appeal to their meaning, Castor and Pollux, standing before his eyes in the Praetorium. while delivering his 7th oration against Verres. And that's in Latin, so I'm not going to read it. Let me read it to you in English. We're on page 107. Ye of all forensic matters. So yes, or ye, rather, ye of all forensic matters, of greatest councils, of laws and judgments, arbiters and witnesses, Castor and Pollux, placed in the most renowned place of the Praetorium. So forensic matters, that's what? Evidence. Evidence. From whom, or rather from the beginnings of life and food, of laws and matters, and examples of gentleness and humanity. Now, I've asked everyone, when you see this word humanity, to think Han Uman. Han Uman. This is the half man, half chimpanzee created creature in Genesis chapter 1. This is a kind of man. This is mankind. This is the colored man. This is the colored man. Okay? This is the colored man. Colorable man. Looks like a man, but does not have the substance of a man. In fact, this hybrid mankind, according to a good law dictionary, is a monster. A human is a monster. And this monster cannot inherit land, although born from a woman. Although born from a woman. Now this would explain why the hybrids went out warring and conquering and using psychic attacks against men and women, against Moors, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, against those of us who are not hybrid. Why? To steal your birthright. What is your birthright? Your birthright is the land, commerce and contracts, that's all resources and energies. And who are you? According to Psalms 82:6, and even the Christ said it, all of you are gods. All of you are creators. All of you are sovereign. All of you are thought made manifest from the land, therefore the rightful heir. So therefore everything in the physical world belongs to you. Y'all understand? So this is why the hybrid has this elaborate system in place that we call religion. Right? Admiralty, maritime, Catholic, Christian, canon, corporate policy. Put you in a dead state, a civilly dead state. Right? What's the mechanism? You're shipped off into religion on the good ship Jesus. Right? And you're held there through ignorance and superstition, through spells, through gospels, through the gospels. That's how they keep you in the land of Oz. Scared of the wizard, scared of the magician, right? Seeing things that are not real, that are only illusions, and living your life based upon these illusions, living your life based upon fear. All right, y'all? Y'all got it? Based upon fear, in contrast to living your life harmonically with nature. Not in fear. Okay? You have nothing to fear when you know. Okay, whatever you don't like, you can use the laws of nature to make it be whatever you want it to be. This is why you are quote-unquote gods. Sons, S-O-N-S-U-N, of the Most High. Okay, let's continue. Where am I? Okay. Okay, so let me start here. From the beginning, from whom the beginnings of life and food, requirements of life, of laws and manners, requirements of commerce, right, and human interaction between man and woman, rather, and examples of gentleness and humanity. Well, let's just put in of nature, and are said to have been given and distributed to men and cities. Thus we find that they are at the close joined with Ceres and Libra, so September Libra, and spoken of as civilizers of the world. Isn't that interesting? Y'all notice that the hybrids are always claiming, proclaiming, declaring, promoting that they civilize the world? Right? Prior to them, prior to the Renaissance, everybody was uncivilized, right? Especially in the Americas, they have the nerve to call us uncivilized. Okay? This is putting the pieces of the puzzle together, right? But their particular province was law and judicature. That quote comes from Bryant, Volume 2, page 161. Now, of course, we know that it is the Moors, the Moabites, etc., the whole bloodline. We came out civilized. We didn't evolve and become civilized. No, evolution never happened. Evolution is an absurdity and an impossibility when you think about it logically. So what are they going to tell you to overcome that? Oh, you just don't understand, because such huge amounts of time are involved, billions of years. Well, I'm not going to give you that. I'm going to tell you, no, you don't understand. Because you weren't there and you have no evidence except for your imagination and this BS you're trying to push off on me. Plus, y'all should know that your genetic code is built in such a way to prevent changes. Okay, to prevent changes. Mutations are not good things. The DNA is built to maintain itself. When there is a glitch in the DNA, there is a corrective action that gets implemented. Okay, so all of this is BS. You're going to tell me it took millions of billions of years for this to happen and that to happen? Okay, prove it. Don't just sit here and say it, prove it. And now they got to shut the hell up. Right? They want you to think, well, billions of years, the probability, this could happen. But when y'all do these statistics, y'all can read about this. Statistically, evolution could have never happened. But don't even buy into that argument. Use your common sense. How are you going to tell me about something that happened billions of years ago, and you've been lying to me about something that happened today, last year, 50 years ago, 100 years ago? Jim Crow, you lying about that. You have no character. You are a publicly known liar. Evidence of you lying is in your history books. My grandmother told me, my mama told me who my people are. But you lying about this whole story about we come from Africa. My mother didn't tell me that. My grandmother didn't tell me that. They told me that we are Choctaw. Later I found out that that's Shatta. All right? And on my father's side, his people, on my father's mother's side, come from southern part of Ohio. And there are Indian reservations there. And from the way my grandmother, her physical features were described to me, she's also an indigenous or Moorish American. So you are liars. You are known liars. You can pick up, I want to talk about medicine, but I can't because YouTube will give me another strike. All right? So if a known, y'all know that a known liar, someone who gets caught committing perjury, let's say in a court or even a pretend court, you know that you don't have to believe anything that they say after that point, right? Because they're a liar. You can't trust anything they say. Well, let's hold that same standard of justice to them. Don't come talking to me about billions of years. Because you're a liar. A known liar. Publicly known liar. Ain't no secrets about that. All right, y'all? The name Castor seems to be a compound of Ka, Aster, the temple or place of Aster. Ain't that sounding like Zoroaster? Castor. Look at my thumb. Y'all see Castor? Ka, Aster. Which means, so in other words, there are two radicals, Ka and Aster. Ka, Aster means temple or place of Aster. See y'all, this is etymology. Ka, Aster was, by the Greeks, abbreviated into Castor. That quote is from Bryant. Now again, this sermon was preached at the Rotunda in London in 1831. This book is a compilation of those sermons and was published in 1851. This is more trustworthy than any commentator that you will read today. All right? Hence, so many names of towns in Britain, quote unquote, among the Britons of Phoenician extract. Quote from Bryant, volume 6, page 158. So many towns in Britain ending in Cester, C-E-S-T-R, as Alcester, Chester, Manchester, Dorchester, God, Manchester, Ilchester, Lancaster, Leicester, Gloucester, Rochester, Chichester, Cirencester, Worcester, all of them distinguished by remains of cathedrals dedicated to the great god Castor, i.e. the sun in Gemini. Gemini is the two twins, as that of London is to his brother Pole. So Pole, St. Paul's Church is dedicated to Pole, and Castor. You see all of these churches that I just named with the Cester at the ending, those are churches dedicated to that god, dedicated to Castor, Co-Aster, which the Greeks condensed into Castor. Ca-Aster, the Greeks condensed it into Castor. All right? So y'all, this is, in my opinion, not that it matters to you, very powerful evidence. All right? So let's continue. I.e. the sun in Gemini. as that of London is to his brother Pole, who is one and the self-same deity, as London itself was called by the Saxons London Castor, and abbreviated so long as a word would necessarily be for the convenience of ordinary utterance. So in other words, Lancaster became just London to make it shorter, easier to say. As our St. John Street is called St. John Street instead of St. John Street. All right, y'all, let me show you this. This is page 107 right here. So you can see the text about Castor, and all of these churches named in veneration of the god Castor, who the Greeks condensed to form the word castor. Y'all see it? You can stop the video on the playback because I don't have time right now. And page 108, the top paragraph, the first paragraph. Take a look at that. All right. So they're just playing games with words. Y'all see it? They contracted the words. Okay. London Castor became London. St. John Street became St. John Street. All right. Islam to all the Moors. Thanks everybody for being here with me. I enjoyed this. I'll see y'all in about 12 to 24 hours. I got a win. All right. I got appointment. Thanks for your support and your continued support. My PayPal, paypal.me/Zion Law School is in the description area of the video, along with books, links to all of my books. Remember, buy them on ZionLawSchool.org. Empress Roro writes, peace. Peace, Empress Roro. Thanks for being here. And special thanks, you guys, for sending in your donations for my project to write the Book of the Law in modern English and Ancient Ibaryath, along with the etymological meaning of every word. Y'all see the power in the etymology right now, right? And also to restore the natural law and constitutional principles in the Book of the Law, so you'll be able to more easily understand it and correlate it with law, with the Constitution, and with our treaty, the Constitution for the United States of North America and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1836, and all of the other documents having to do with that. I gotta run, y'all. Islam and Shalom to all the Moors.